Alrighty, all live now. Alright, so I'm a noob at this, so let's try and be patient. Let's call Pete. Answer, Pete. Answer. Pick up your phone. It's about time.
I can hear you.
Alright, so here's the thing I made. It's supposed to be like a paper puppet type thing. This is the Blender game engine, what it would look like with the Blender game engine. This is a render, which is probably closer to what it will look like inside Unreal.
Where's it at?
It's on the screen.
Are you seeing what you are quote unquote sharing?
I am seeing it. Where's my live streaming? I'm seeing it here. It says I am live. How do I tell you? How do I share this streaming with you?
Let's see. I think I see it. Live now. Okay, I'm in the past. Let me catch up.
There's a little bit of a lag going on.
Actually, this one says it's minutes long, so this is not the one. Let me go to Dev Pirates page. There we go, live now. There we go. Okay. So let me turn the sound off of that. You're probably going to have to select my picture and capture my video and audio in order for me to show up on the page.
What do you mean? Should you show up here?
Well, I mean, if you want me to be part of it.
Well, I thought I was going to do mine, and then I will do yours. You can do yours after.
Okay. One of the problems with me only being able to see things through the YouTube video is the lag.
Well, I don't know how to share my screen with you. Maybe I can try sharing my screen inside of here. I don't see an option for share screen. Wait, they changed all the options. See how far I can push my machine with all the screen sharing and capturing. All right.
Well, if you need a new processor, let me know before April, and I can get you an Intel processor at half price.
I have an Intel processor in my laptop, which is what I'm using. It's a i7, so whatever can fit that socket.
Well, there's many different sockets for i7s.
Yeah, I have to see which one it is.
Depends on the year.
Seems to be doing all right. Let me see if I can add you in.
Oh, hey, you're sharing your screen. This is fine.
Yeah, but you're not on the Let's Dev thing. I think I can get you added in if I add a window capture. And we'll call it Pete's face.
Nice and descriptive, just the way I like it.
All right. Sharing your screen with Google Hangouts. I don't see it.
Hangouts video call, second one.
I don't see your face though.
Hit OK and go to that window and make sure my face is selected.
Yep.
Interesting. Why is it Hangouts video call Google Chrome should show up in that window?
Can I edit it what if I choose the other one? No, that's definitely not it. Well, maybe it only lets me share the video once.
That's probably it.
Or maybe twice, you know, NSA and my screen.
Yeah. Well, NSA is, yeah. Just always assume +1.
All right, let me get rid of Pete's face.
Yes, please.
All right. If I had more desktop. All right, so this is Endangered Kingdoms. This is what I got.
Did you get rid of the Bloxels?
No. I haven't gotten into that yet.
Okay.
Let me hide this thing. It's a town, nice town.
Search for it, dude.
Where?
You're talking about the green thing? There's a shortcut for that. It was like F10 or F11 or something.
There we go. Where's the... What is it called?
It should be the nav mesh that you're trying to hide.
Yeah, but there's another one.
Is it called AI or something like that?
Large enemy.
There's a button for it. For hide show nav mesh.
There it is. Boop.
Yeah.
I found it.
Okay. Nice. I like that town. That is a good looking town, sir.
Yeah, but it's super huge on memory because these have each individual blocks.
Right, and each block has all the sides, as opposed to how most games would do it, where they just show the shell.
Yeah, I was thinking of reusing the textures, maybe reworking them a little bit, and then convert this over into using the level designer mesh. And then that way, it's because the level designer mesh is a lot more optimized, but I don't know. It'll probably take the same amount of time.
Is that water animating?
No, not yet. That was going to be one of the things for the future.
Okay, it just kind of looked like it was animating because that would be cool.
It would be. I think it looks awesome. I like
It does look great.
The colors and stuff.
Yeah. I likes it. But
yeah, and so, the Let's Dev was going to be me doing something. I was going to show. Okay, here's the mesh. I need to put bones in, and then do animations and whatnot.
Okay.
And then the other thing was Tracer Racer. We wanted to do coins, so we'll look at how many coins we have now. Just 1,3,277. And then we'll play through once. Have you seen that?
Your number's not moving?
What number?
I thought that was gold on your left. Yeah, I see your gameplay.
Gordon, you're not helping.
Oh, you weren't sarcastically calling me Gordon. Gordon's name.
Yeah, he's laying on my hand.
Of course. He's a effing cat.
I'm still happy with this game. Having only taken a month to do it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
It was only it's a pretty small game concept.
With some finishing touches, it'll be ready for the Play Store. It's a fully playable game, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not quite ready for release.
No, I think we can put a lot more effort into it, and it would pay us back a lot. Notice it's a little slow sluggish when I'm doing all this screen sharing.
Oh, and you're running it through the Unreal editor, which is slower too.
Yeah. It's still not bad.
All of these sections are fully loaded each time you go through a game, right?
Yeah. Each section is already like there's 4 sections per level, I guess. So you'll see that bits is 152, but then I earned 266. So it added a modifier to it.
Oh, cool.
So
And now how many?
It went up by 266.
Nice.
So that was my task for this week, for my development task. And then I was supposed to be doing the GUI, a HUD GUI. But I didn't get everything prepared for it, so I'm going to skip it this week. I will start with a blueprint, and I'll add in a, so here's the HUD. Okay, you did a widget instead of a HUD, right?
I've done the HUD multiple times, so I don't know which one you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to start one over from scratch, I think.
What did you want to do with it?
I want, because when we do it, we attach it to the player, and it's like an object inside of the game instead of like a true HUD, which is pasted directly to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I wanted it pasted directly to the screen is because there's a whole bunch of blurring issues, especially with the text.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's a pain in the butt is because right now we have each of these being separate sprites.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't use separate sprites in the HUD. You have to use images because reasons. I'm not sure what those reasons are, but they are reasons.
Yeah, the logic will be more complicated to do it as a solid HUD.
Yeah, the logic's gonna be more complicated, and but I think I can simplify a lot into functions.
So Borderlands has a HUD that is an in-game HUD.
Yeah, that's not what I want to do.
Okay, I was just saying that it's been done and it doesn't have to be ugly.
I know, and it looks better when you're actually playing the game instead of through the game editor. I mean, yeah, but it's still there's still a bunch of issues, and all those issues would be solved if we just had things. Plus, it's like the graphics, it's a flat object, so it's not like the Borderlands one.
Sure. And we want it to be a flat object, so.
Yeah. But it's just there's a whole bunch of extra complexity for some unknown reason for doing it as a HUD. You have far less control over images and whatnots. I also figure out you could rotate things, but you have to attach it to a certain thing that can be rotated, and you have to put whatever you want rotated inside of it. And so there's just a whole bunch of extra complexity. Like, why can't you just do all the things to one type of object, like an image object? And why can't you use a sprite? I mean, I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not sure
So
why things is the way they is, but they is that way.
But yeah, I will get the HUD working. What's this one? Is this one a HUD? Yeah, this one's a HUD. I will take over this one. So basically, there's a whole bunch of objects you can add to it. And so I'm going to do... Oh man, it's been forever since I did this. A canvas panel. And then inside of that, there's image. Actually, no, I think you can... There was a thing that you could set. Oh, all right. So we'll just add an image to the canvas panel. Then with the image, we will do anchors or stretch all. What was the other thing? Oh, size to content. Oh. Offset 0, bomb offset 0. There we go. And then for the image, where's the image? Yeah, I should have brushed up on it, but I was busy because on my ride game, I finally got the achievements thing working. It's deceptively easy once you know how to do it.
Right.
Okay, so brush, image. Okay, where's the... I like working on... I like working on... What was your 256 by 96? All right, so let's fix this. I like working on 2 screens. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, me too.
6 by 96.
That's a 2. Oh, there we go.
And there we go. That shouldn't be a stretched. Okay, why is... where's your options? Alright, that's the way it should look. So save that. Huh. It's saving a whole bunch right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let me kill my other project. Free up some RAMs. Yeah, why is yours still blurry? There's gotta be some other option inside of here.
Oh, it's probably on the rendering. Your image size matches your resolution, so that should be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll fix it. And then the other thing I was going to do was I was going to have an object here, and I'm going to have to set the display. Where's my... So inside of the canvas object, I can set these guys and I can move them around to exactly where I want them to be. But since these guys are not an individual image yet, I can't do that. I have to cut these guys up into individual images.
Because you can't use sprites.
Right. Which I could do right now, but it's kind of boring to watch.
Right.
But that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, set these guys to individual sprites. I think their size was supposed to be 32 by 32. And I think I wrote down what position these guys were at, but I don't remember offhand. Whatever. We will get it done. Get her done.
Get her done.
Yeah, see, these are images. They have to be images. Because I don't know why. Seems like if you already have a sprite system in place, you'd just be able to plug that in anywhere. But what do I know?
You know, indeed.
But one of the things we could do is we just set up like a list of which images, depending on what image it is, and then we just replace it with one of these images once they are, you know, images.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
I wonder which would be better, having a bunch of images, each handling themselves, or having one bar where it basically handles the 50, 60 different states it'll be in for the life?
I didn't want to do 50 states. What I wanted to do was it just passes in a value of how many hit points the player has, and then that will just round out how many whole ones you get, and then whatever remainder is going to be what the last one is set to.
Yeah, that's how it is right now. You do a divide by 7, 8, and then you also do a modulus, and whatever the remainder is, you use for the n+1 holes.
That looks right, doesn't it? But anyway, what we can do is we rename this one, and we'll call it gem 1. And up here, it's in a variable. And so we would just create a function inside of, where's my code?
Where is my code?
And so then we just create a function in here that will set healths. And then it'll just, don't know exactly how I would do it. I would start with just 1 to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I figure out how to do more than 1, redo that.
Sure. Makes sense.
But that is the plan. I'm going to save this. And yeah. Okay. Oh, I did cut these out into images. That's why I'm using the images right now. And then what was text? Let's throw a text on here. Yeah, that's a good spot for it, right?
Right there.
Anchor at the bottom right.
I say leave it.
No. Why did you do that?
It's a great question. So if we collide right, we push left. If we collide left, we push right.
Why didn't you select correctly? All right. Change the font. We should figure out how to do more fonts.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's do Serifs Pro for now. Let's do 10. All right, let's set you up here. How do we want to count out? Let's just count this way. And what do we want? Do we want to make this a different color, or is white fine?
Let me see. White's fine for now. I think that looks all right.
There was a progress bar object. Let's anchor you to the bottom, middle, bottom left. Oh, did you read my descriptions for for a different way to do this one is going to be yellow.
Your descriptions for the abilities?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And what do you think?
I think those sound good. I think we need to put them into the game and test them and see if they're fun.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have to tweak them.
Sure. My normal way to go about that though is to test it and keep what works and get rid of what doesn't. I don't really like front loading the design too much. I know that clashes with your style.
Well, no, I like doing both. I like having, because you can't plan for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you need to plan for some things.
Agreed. Player, main car.
But this is just going to be a prototype. So what's going to happen is we're going to have to make it, and then we're going to have to test it out to see what's fun, what we're going to keep, and what we're not. All right, I think that's as far as I'm going to do for the HUD for now. Because it's been several minutes and I've been rambling. So
that's my job.
I'll do some more next time. Let's compile. Oh, you turned it off, didn't you? Because we're using the other one.
You turned what off?
The HUD.
Yes.
Let's see if I remember where to turn that on at. World settings. Game mode. Select the game mode. Class HUD. Oh, we called it HUD.
It'll be, since it's part of Savron's character, it'll be in her construction script.
Oh, it's right there. See it in the top left?
Yeah. There you go.
Looks like I'm going to have to double everything.
Sweet.
Sweet. That wasn't too bad. I did something.
Not bad at all.
All right.
Forward vector.
That is it for mine. So I'm going to switch it over to you.
Vector.
So you're going to have to do your streaming.
You know what? Here, let me just share my screen. You use.
All right. So you share your screen. I will watch you.
Okay.
Whoops, I closed out. I didn't mean to close that one out.
Share screen. That guy.
Let me engorge it.
Oh, excuse me.
You know, you heard what I said. And let me drink some more caffeines.
Okay, so I was having issues with Visual Studio. Had to reinstall it and stuff, so I wasn't able to get to work on your project because it requires Visual Studio being installed to work on.
It does. Also, I had problems with my desktop with Visual Studio because I installed Visual Studio to a different drive than my default C drive. And for some reason, that makes Visual Studio and Unreal Engine throw a huge hissy fit and won't ever compile.
Oh, great.
Everything else works with Visual Studio and everything else works with Unreal Engine, but for some reason, both of them trying to work together, it doesn't work. And then I tried to install it to a different location, and it was like, no, we installed it to this location, so we're always going to install it to this location, no matter how many times you uninstall.
Gosh.
And then I tried to find like a workaround. It's like, oh, you just do this, and you mess with the registry settings, and that still didn't fix it. So I gave up. I'll try and fix it again later because I'm not happy with not being able to work on my desktop.
Right.
I mean, I like working on the laptop and all, but I don't want to be forced to work on the laptop. It's supposed to be an option. Like
my desktop is my work PC. I cannot stand working on a laptop. Work is moving towards laptops, and it's driving me nuts.
My work has a laptop, so.
That's your primary development machine?
Yeah, but we have little hubs. So at work, I plug it into the hub, and I have a full keyboard and a full mouse and 2 other
Yeah.
monitors. And
Yeah, I feel you. Okay. So right now I'm actually working, I'm not working on either of the games you've shown. I'm working on a beastly prototype.
right, give me like a list of objects that you want, and I will start making slowly the 3D assets for that.
Okay. A block and a main character would be nice.
Okay, but first, make a list. And tell me
What did I tell you about not front loading this thing? Gosh.
Hey, this isn't front loading. This is you discovering you need an asset, and then you letting me know which assets you need. And make it in a nice list so I don't have to remember. You can just look at the list and do it.
No, I agree. It should be somewhere where you can look it up. Gosh. Okay, so here I want to switch on push direction. Move right. I want a constant. Int. New int. Do I have to set it to a variable? Come on. Sure.
You have to set it to something. What's it gonna do with it?
Oh, well, actually, I guess I can just come out here. I want a new event. Call this move. Okay, and that'll have an input of push direction. Wait, that looks like an output.
It does look like an output.
Maybe these events don't work the way I think they should. Anyway, all this movement code inside my function. Okay, so here. Oh, there we go. Integer. Basic integer. Oh, is that a long?
What if you attached it to the object? Over on the left, you just added a variable.
I guess I can. All right. So move right.
But not a boolean.
Add one called move up. Yeah, I'll change the type. Just hang on. And they need to be floats apparently. Go not integer. Gosh, fat clicking. Okay, so default value is 0.
Well, it will add the next variable of the same type that you just added.
Get.
So you would have only had to have changed one of them if you did it in order.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So.
Not that it matters that much. I was just little things that I learned.
Right doesn't want to set move up. Right wants to set move. Set move right. Break you. And set move right to be 1. Then we'll set move left. We'll set move right to -1. And this is up. This will set move up to 1. And down. No, move up to -1. Okay. So now I can just say after those all do that. Okay.
What was that hotkey you did to add that hub? I keep forgetting what the hotkey is.
You just double click on it.
Oh. Well, whatever. Same difference. Oh, now look what you did.
Oh, I'm such an idiot. Okay, and actually, these two, so up want to go to that one. Oh, actually, you know what? It won't matter. Actually, it will.
You have to add it to your coordinates, don't you, on the bottom left?
Yeah, so here's going to be get move up. And move these two move rights should not be executing down there. Flipping things around, man. Okay. This will be move right. Okay. Now, hopefully, if this works the way I think it works, it's executing. I want to move, actually. Interesting.
Oh, it's not pushing the block.
Yeah, well, this controller is supposed to move depending on the location that it gets overlapped on. So these are saying, hey, when you overlap. Oh, so let me show you my object here. I've got 4 different collision boxes. You can't do physics in this game because it needs to move on a grid and it needs to always be moving at a straight line.
Right.
So these collision boxes were the idea I came up with. And then each of those has on begin overlap, see if it's the main character. If it is, set the movement direction, and then move the box. Oh, it might be doing it. It just might be doing it for like a fraction of a second because it's only setting it.
What if you got to the movement direction of the player? On
The
collision, and then left and right would only move left and right, and up and down would only move up and down.
But there may be a weird situation where you're sliding along the corner, pushing down and right.
Well, you still use your 4 collision boxes.
Oh.
But you know what I'm saying is, like, if the player is moving down, even if he's moving diagonal down and he hits the top one, then it pushes the block down.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that what this does?
It's essentially mimicking the same motion mechanics that the player has. But my problem is that it only activates for a fraction of a second. And so I need to do something more like... Oh, I got it. Instead of waiting for that to call here, I will add it to my on tick box. I'll save, play. Let me see what's going on in the code here. Okay, so if you see, it's executing.
But what was your on tick though?
On tick is just checking whether or not.
Well, shouldn't your on tick also move the box?
Well, it does inside this function.
What?
See this function right here?
Yeah.
It's calling move box every tick. And as long as it is one of these 4 things in the enum, it will move it in that direction, supposedly. I mean, this will be enhanced in the future, but for now, I'm just trying to get it moving.
Okay. can't see. Okay, world direction. Where does it get the world direction from?
This right here.
Okay, so was that float going? You're plugging in. How does that know whether it's going to go up or down or left or right?
So you get the
same.
This vector right here. This is the right vector, and that's just telling you between right and left. And forward vector is between up and down. And down here, I broke it into the flat plane where we only care about the z-axis as a rotator.
Yeah, but it looks like you're grabbing the same value for up and down as you're doing for left and right.
One's positive one, one's negative one.
I'm talking about up and down, left and right. So it looks like you're doing the exact same thing whether you're doing up or down or left or right.
Except one's taking right vector as an input and the other one's taking a forward vector as an input.
Right, but how does if they weren't named right or left, it was just a variable between -1 and 1. How would it know to move the block left or right versus up or down?
So this says positive numbers move right because according to the rotation of the controller, which we grab the controller, we grab the rotation, and we break it out into a flat plane. Then we say, hey, if it's one of these two, left or right, we use the right vector to say move in a direction, either right or left.
Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't see. One says get right vector, one gets forward vector. Is all blurry.
Yeah.
Target self. What if you click force? No, you don't want to do force. I think you're gonna have to add its actual location.
Well, if you look at the player, this is how the player works. You get the controller, you break the rotation out, and then you just say, hey, walk. And it just adds movement input. That is it. That's the entirety of the player controller. And I was hoping I could do the same thing. Well, let's see. Walk.
Oh, wow. I was doing a virus scan too. Thanks.
Was I?
No, I was.
Oh, you've got plenty of stuff going on right now, dude. Okay, so maybe I don't have a property on here. Okay, use controller rotation. Allow tick before play. Start with tick enabled.
There was a is movable or something like that.
Can be damaged. Generate overlap events. Well, we already know the events are working.
Well, you don't want the main object itself to trigger the overlap events.
Right, just the...
Well, I mean, maybe, but not
collision
yet.
Boxes. Okay, so let me change this to all advanced details. So move, replicate movement, replicated movement.
Well, maybe it's on the box itself that it needs to say whether it's movable or not. It's an actor, right?
Yeah.
What kind of object is the box?
The box is a pawn.
So pawn should have movement, but maybe it doesn't by default. Check its properties.
Over here.
I can't really read them because it's all blurry. There's not that many. Just look through them.
AI controller.
I don't think you need an AI controller.
I don't. I got those Maybe I need a new.
Maybe. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Maybe what's moving are those collision boxes.
All right. Well, let me set those to visible then.
They're probably visible, but not visible inside the game when the game's running.
Yeah, see, you can turn off hidden in game. So they will show. It shouldn't be what happens, but let's see. Yeah, so nothing's moving. What do we do to make it movable? Gosh dang it.
Okay, just see if you can get it to just move in the on the tick event.
Okay.
Just
Let's see what we can do.
Moving.
Let's launch it.
No, don't want launch. Just move it how you want to move it by moving by 1 unit per tick.
Oh, well, in that case, I will break this connection and just do move right.
Well, we already saw that was working because we saw the trail go all the way.
Okay.
Do inside the on tick event.
This is what the on tick event calls.
Not anymore. I thought you just cut it.
I did not cut the on tick event. I just moved it out. So anyway, I'm just going to rewire this real quick. So add movement.
We saw that it was activating all the way through.
Let's just say, okay, 1 should work, right? Let's try checking that force box. Colliding with something? It does not want to move. All right, I'm just going to see if I can get it to move. So I want to launch. What? Yeah, launch character. Oh, maybe I should turn this into a character.
I've been using pawns and they work just fine for inanimate objects.
Hey, push action. What does that mean? So main car instigates.
I don't see anything changing on the screen.
Sorry. New action. I don't know what this is for. Anyway. I don't know. Acceleration.
What about move? Well, isn't there just a
Yeah.
set location?
Location. Set relative location.
Scroll up a little bit. Oh yeah, set relative location probably.
I don't think that's what we want because that's just gonna.
Set actor location.
See, I don't think that's what we want. I think we want some kind of a movement like what is it called? Speed. Momentum. What's it called? Velocity. All right, let's set angular velocity of cube. Nothing. Yeah, it doesn't want to move. What the? So, Matt, do you have Endangered Kingdoms open still, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the Larvic? Is it a character?
Enemies, Larvic. Why isn't it here? Blueprints, enemies. I moved things to where they were supposed to be.
And I have not moved them back.
Larvic controller. Larvic care enemy. Looks like it's a parent class is an enemy care. Oh, not you. And enemy care is a base character. A base character is a character.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I want a blueprint class. I want a controller. Gosh, would we call it an AI controller?
I don't think you want it to be an AI controller.
I don't want it to be a player controller.
You want just make it a character.
Yeah, but in order for characters to move of their own, they need a controller. Anyway, all right, so what is going on here? That needs to go over here. You need to go over there. Okay, so let's do text box, care, event graph, event tick, move. Oh, here we go. So
Just get it to move first before you start doing all the fancy collision boxes.
I'm just gonna, there we go. Characters are so much easier. You see that, Matt? Choo.
That looks stupid.
What, you don't want the boxes sliding down the, Shut up. Okay. So now I think everyone's got the basic idea of how I'm going to be doing the movement on these boxes using collisions and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, if they're colliding with this box and colliding with the cube, then push.
Unless they collide on the other side with another thing.
Right. These things, like, I'll make it so that this box can't overlap another physical object.
Right. That should work.
So.
Except for when it hits an enemy, because then it's going to have to squish.
Right. Yeah.
One thing at a time.
Yeah. Jeez, dude.
One thing at a time.
Basically, the characters are gonna have a bit of code just saying, if I'm colliding with a box on one side and a wall on the other side, I die.
Yeah.
Or just, sorry, if I'm squeezed on two sides, I die. That'd be the simplest way to do it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, if it gets collided with on both sides.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it so that everything moves smoothly but snaps to grid?
See, now that is something that I do want to look into. Like, do we want it so that when you push up, you move to the next space?
Yeah, or half spaces, like snap to half grids, like Adventures of Lolo.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm not necessarily sold on it. I kind of think that would help out with a puzzle game motif.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's necessary.
I think this is more of an action game than a puzzle game.
It's an action puzzle game, like Adventures of Lolo.
Okay. And I promise I will get to adding the beautiful movement on Tracer.
Well, the camera movement, right? Oh,
well, and hovering.
Yeah, the hovering stuff.
And the camera, I kind of want to be on a swing arm and extend when you accelerate.
Yeah.
And kind of be a lazy camera, so that when you switch lanes, it'll catch up.
Yeah. Also, what I think is like it will start out like this and like really close, and then as you speed up, it will go like this.
I'm sorry, I can't see what's happening on your screen.
Oh, I thought I was sharing my screen.
You are sharing your screen. I guess there was a tiny little pip window
look,
that I could see you through.
Look here, in this tiny little thing right here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So, see, this hand is the camera.
Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So this black thing in front of this black stuff is the camera.
This black thing in front of my black shirt.
Okay, so this hand's the camera, right? You see that? Can you get closer?
Yes. Mm-hmm. No, I can see him.
Zoom in.
That's a bit better.
You see that one?
We will figure out how we want to do this one of these days.
Well, we have to do it to get good at it. Okay, so here's the ship and here's the camera. So when you're going slow, it's like this. Like, sorry, that stupid light's in the back. And so it's kind of like facing down, and you don't see very much. And then as it gets faster, it goes like this, and it tilts up a little too.
Oh, I see. So as you accelerate, it will go further back and tilt.
So you can see more.
Yeah. That should be totally doable. We'll just have to manage the angle by using the Pythagorean theorem.
I don't know if it needs to be that fancy. We could probably just do like here's one location and here's the other location, and do like a transition between the two.
I see.
Or we could use a path that's anchored to the ship, maybe.
I kind of wish that. I wonder if there's a way with the swing arm to have it always pointing down the arm. Oh yeah, because all you'd have to rotate and adjust is the swing arm, and it'll always be pointing at the same direction. And as long as that is at the middle of the car, you won't have to manage the rotation of the camera.
I'm pretty sure I have a swing arm in there. But I closed the project, and it takes a while to load up, and we're close to done.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I was saying, if you attach it to the end of the swing arm, it will always be pointing down the center if you want it to. So really all we'd be manipulating is the length and the rotation of the swing arm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're doing it, so however you want to do it. So I was just trying to describe the kind of look and feel that I wanted. You're going to do the technical stuff.
Right. And I like it this way because I have no talent for making things pretty. I mean, look at me.
Yeah, I don't either. It takes me forever to make things that look minimally acceptable.
You do a great job.
Your lies. Anyway, I guess we will stop here then.
Sounds good.
All right. Until in 2 weeks. Maybe
this
we'll
will
get
be
better at this.
your dev pirate guide to failing at YouTube broadcasts.
Yay! We're horrible.